The 2023 NFL schedule has finally been revealed officially, which means we now know when the Packers will face off against their 14 opponents this year. What better time for an off-season episode? Wayne and I are both glad you're here as we share our thoughts on the schedule as well as some other happenings in Titletown, as well as the rest of the NFL. We'll cap it all off with feedback from all of you, all coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Patiently waiting for the 2023 Packers season. I'm Wayne Henderson, and if I suddenly come into some money, I'd like to attend each and every one of these games we're going to be talking about.
You got to buy a lottery ticket, man. I am Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and I'm also eagerly anticipating the start of the next chapter in Packers football. We're definitely in rebuild mode right now, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing what LaFleur and the rest of the coaching staff puts together in a post-Rodgers era for the team. On this 274th edition of the Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers, first off, the 2023 Packers game schedule has been released, and we're going to take an early look at all of the matchups.
And you, dear listener, were kind enough to give your insights about the schedule. Looking forward to sharing your feedback here on the show. One quick bit of news that came out since our last episode is that we signed Jonathan Owens, safety, formerly of the Texans, and he had 125 tackles last year and defended 4 passes, and I think our secondary needs all the help it can get, so welcome to the squad.
Absolutely. What do I always say, Wayne? The best offense
is a good defense.
Good defense. There you go. There you go. Also, there was some interesting news this week regards to Mason Crosby. We've been kind of having some question marks about the future of the Silver Fox or Gray Fox or whatever moniker he's been going by lately. But apparently his wife posted on, I believe it was Facebook, saying something. It was just like she wasn't making an announcement. She was just talking to a friend on Facebook, as we all do on social media. And she made comment that their time in Green Bay had come to an end. And that post has officially been deleted, or that comment has been deleted, not before a bunch of people screen grabbed it and started sharing it around the social media. So what do you think, Wayne? Are we officially done with Mason Crosby? Or
I don't know what to think. The first day, I was sure that this was the end, and we all thanked him and wished him well and all that good stuff. But the fact that at least part of the tweet or possibly the whole thing was deleted, that just makes me say, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what's going on now.
Were the Packers aware that their time at Green Bay was in the end? That's the bigger question.
Oh, okay. That could be the twist. They're like, wait a minute. Yeah.
So now a phone call has been made. I wonder if that's what's going on. But I don't know. I mean, just the sheer fact that Green Bay didn't make an official announcement after that was being passed around kind of gives me pause. Because, I mean, what reason would they have to not make a formal announcement if that were the case? This kind of smells like Mrs. Crosby may have jumped the gun a little bit, and the Packers were not aware. So be careful what you put on social media, kids.
It's there forever.
It is there forever. So anyway, we'll have to kind of play the wait and see what goes on there. And the Packers did draft a kicker, in the draft. So I mean, he needed a backup anyway, but still, all signs are kind of pointing, but nothing has been officially set in stone, so we're just going to have to kind of play the waiting game in the meantime.
I do have a feeling that by the time we reconvene with new episodes sometime near the end of preseason, we'll probably have an answer by then.
Yeah. Knowing the way things are going, I mean, it's going to be on the Pat McAfee show, right? That's where everything gets announced, apparently.
True that.
In terms of Green Bay. Let's go ahead and get into the schedule. The season opens on September 10th, so let's take a look at all of the games. And I got to tell you, Wayne, my heart sank a little bit when I saw that the start date was September 10th. You're not going to believe this, man. Not 2 weeks ago, maybe even less, I booked a camping trip with superfan Aaron Peterson that weekend. So I'm going to be up in the middle of the Porcupine Mountains, or Porkies, whatever you call them, with no signal, not able to watch the game live. Hopefully I can get a signal on the way home and watch a recorded version of it on the way home. But I was kicking myself. But what are you going to do? So I'm going to miss game 1 of Jordan Love. It just makes me so angry, especially at the Bears. But what are you going to do? Anyway.
You're going to probably miss the first 4 touchdowns the Packers make. And then when you get back into cell signal range, you'll have all these text messages. Whoa.
Yep. Yeah. So that's going to be a bummer. I'm going to have to somehow silence my text alerts with my Packers group friends. I'm going to get back in range and have 200 messages waiting for me. But anyway, week 1, September 10th at the Bears. That will be a 4:25 game. Do you want to run through this whole thing, or do we just kind of want to talk about the whole thing overall?
Break down a little bit after each game, just what jumps out, and then we'll do an overall scope of the season. I was super excited when I first saw the schedule and I said, we're playing the Bears week 1. Good. We'll get that. Wait, we're on the road again?
Yeah. Slow down, Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, thank you. So, but hey, if we can win this game and start the season off by beating the Bears in Chicago, that'll be a good omen indeed.
How many times are they going to reference Aaron Rodgers owning the Bears at that game with Aaron Rodgers not being at the game? And all this talk about Aaron Rodgers not being the quarterback of the Packers anymore, it's going to I didn't look at the rest of the schedule. I should have seen when the Jets were playing that day, because that's going to be all the talk, too, is whether or not Aaron Rodgers won his first game in New York. So that'll be interesting.
I do believe that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are the first Monday night game. So he'll play the next day, September 11th, I believe.
There you go. The first thing that stood out for me, that kind of what I always look for when looking at the new schedule, is when the bye week is. And we are bye week 6, which could be a blessing and a curse. Those buys are always nice towards the end of the season, when as we're heading into potentially playoff contention. But I don't know, maybe at the beginning of the season it could be a good thing, because we're going to be a very young team. We're going to have Jordan Love's first 5 games as a starting quarterback. We've got all these new players. We have a new team, so it might be good to get that battery recharged towards the beginning of the season, or potentially reset, or keep that momentum going. I'm being optimistic like you, man.
All right. I love the sound of this. I think that's a solid point. The bye week is what it is. I'm just glad it's not as late as it was last year. We barely made it to the bye week last year. It was extremely late. Week 2, another Sunday game, September 17th. We're still on the road, going to Atlanta to play the Falcons at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be a morning game for me. I kind of like that. That'll be a traditional start for a Packers-Falcons game.
Week 3 is going to be September 24th, hosting the Saints. Finally hosting the Saints instead of traveling who knows where. I feel like that's going to be one that's we're going to have a chip on our shoulder with that game, considering that trouncing they did us in week 1.
And not only that, the fact that it's our home opener finally.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of fervor at this game.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me, Wayne, I'm looking at those first 3 games are all on Fox. I'm going to have to update that spreadsheet I did last year with the Packers and Bears schedule, so that my fellow Packers fans here in the State Line area will know where to watch the games, because Packers and Bears games are often overlapping. I'll have to update that and see how we're doing. So thanks for the reminder, even though you didn't do it intentionally.
Not on purpose, but I remember they said that with the schedule, remember, we're not going to keep the NFC mostly locked to Fox anymore and keep the AFC mostly locked to CBS. They can go wherever. But so far, we're keeping tradition alive, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Week 4 is interesting to me. It's our second interdivisional matchup against the Lions. This one we're hosting the Lions on Thursday Night Football. It'll be 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, and that one you're going to have Amazon Prime, which isn't a problem for me. I've subscribed to Amazon for forever. This podcast brought to you by Amazon. Not really.
We wish.
But what's interesting to this for me is that not only is this our first of 2 Thursday night games this season, but both Thursday games are against the Lions. We'll be playing against Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, which I'm all for. I just don't remember the last time we had 2 Thursday night games against the same opponent.
Interesting.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And it's prime time, so it'll be Jordan Love under the bright lights, Thursday night football. I think this is okay because to start out getting another division opponent out of the way, hopefully with a victory. And, after playing on Thursday night, we do get the long break, a few extra days before the next game. So the fact that we will be there, well, physically I won't be there unless I win the lottery. But the fact the Lions are coming to Lambeau, a Thursday night game, not my favorite thing in the world, but at least it's at Lambeau, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. And then that follows up with the Raiders game, which will be in, I assume it's Las Vegas.
It is?
Yeah. On Monday Night Football, that'll be October 9th. That'll be an 8:15 Eastern game on ESPN, leading us into the bye week, like we mentioned, bye week 6. So that first 5 games, we've got only 2 home games, 3 road games, but it's going to be an interesting start to the season for sure.
Now, of course, this Packers at Raiders Monday Night Football game on ESPN, in addition to mentioning that our kicker, presumably our kicker, it is the brother of the kicker of the Raiders. They're going to talk about that. How many times are they going to mention the fact that Devontae Adams used to be a Packer and Aaron Rodgers is gone? I know last year they said it every single game. I think this year, this might be the only game where they mention it, but count on hearing it.
Oh, for sure. We know the playbook at this point.
Yeah, so that's what they do.
Yeah. Week 7, we're at the Broncos on October 22nd. That'll be the afternoon game, 4:25 Eastern on CBS.
Now, they have a quarterback that I've heard of, right? The Broncos do?
You're going to have to refresh me. I have not been keeping up in the offseason.
Isn't Russell Wilson still there?
Oh, my goodness. Russell Wilson. I forgot.
You are in off-season mode. That's okay.
Yeah. Week 8, October 29th. I assume that'll be, Halloween weekend. So we'll be hosting the Vikings that'll be the noon game on Fox. That'll be our 3rd division game. So, we're getting 3 of those out of the way first half of the season.
And of course, really that means we could potentially be solidly in first place in the NFC North at that point.
We could. Yes, sir. Following week, week 9 on November 5th, we host the Rams, also with the noon game on Fox. That'll be interesting. 2
home games in a row. I'm all for it. And having the Rams come to Lambeau Field will be nice. It won't be freezing cold really by November 5th. I believe tentatively the Packers are scheduled to go to LA to play the Rams next season sometime, but let's worry about this season first. But that's pretty cool. 2 home games in a row.
Mm-hmm. What's next? At the Steelers on week 10 on November 12th, the noon game on CBS. Week 11, we're hosting the Chargers on November 19th. That's a noon game on Fox. And then the big one, mentioned it already, but week 12, we get to play on Thanksgiving. I love it when Green Bay gets to play on Thanksgiving. It's just such a...
Why so?
Because I spend that holiday with my family every year, most holidays with my family, but my entire family is Packer fans. So that becomes the focus of the day, which is great. There's a couple members of our family that don't, and they just kind of sit there. But hey, get to watch the game, and I love it. I'm here for it.
That happens quite a bit on Thanksgiving, no matter where we go or who comes to our place. But I do always watch all the football games. And in the past, the Lions have been pretty much a gimme for almost anybody who plays against them. This year, it's going to actually be quite a contest, I believe, depending on how the first part of the season goes.
Agreed. I totally agree.
I'm a bit more excited that it's the first game, because the Lions always play the early game. In fact, it's a half hour earlier than the regular, Sunday kickoff. So 9:30 a.m. here in the West, but it'll be good. And if we can take care of the Lions again on Thursday morning and continue on with the rest of our Thanksgiving, that'll be quite nice. And then we get a bit of a break, the few extra days before what could be the game of the year.
Really could. This is going to be, that break couldn't have come at a better time.
Yes.
Thankfully, we'll be hosting the Chiefs on December 3rd in Week 13. But that is, again, another primetime game, Sunday Night Football, 8:20 Eastern on NBC. That is probably the biggest game of the season for us.
Still the playoffs, one thing at a time, though.
Yeah. And then we get another little bit of a break as well, playing in New York at the Giants on Monday Night Football. So we get one extra day that week. That'll be week 14, December 11th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC. I like that we get those those 2 weeks in a row of a little extra break. Like I said, we need it with the Chiefs for sure. So that's probably my most anticipated game on this list, on this schedule, just because, man, yeah.
And then after that, we've got Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming to Lambeau Field for an early Sunday game. Back on Fox, former division rivals way back in the day in the NFC Central.
Back when they were that weird pinkish orange color.
I actually like that better than their current uniforms.
So do I.
It really stood out. And maybe because they're playing a former division opponent, maybe that'll be their game to whip out the retro jerseys.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Week 16, Christmas Eve, we will be at the Panthers in Carolina at the noon game on Fox, which means Christmas Day is going to be on a Monday this year. I don't know. That's a bummer.
That's kind of interesting. I do like the fact that because Christmas Eve is hard with all the family activities to watch a football game. You know, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, that's one thing. Christmas Eve, but at least here, you know, in the States, it's early. So our folks, our friends over in Europe and in the UK and everything, they will see some sort of interruption with their Christmas Eve activities. But for me, that's 10 a.m. Christmas Eve morning. Perfect.
Yeah. Let's see. Week 17, New Year's Eve, like you mentioned, we get another little bit of a day break because that will be a Sunday night football. Actually, not a full day, just we get the extra few hours, I suppose. But that will be at Minnesota, 8:20 Eastern on NBC. That could be a potentially huge game. And I don't remember the last time the Packers played on New Year's Eve. This is going to be cool. I get together with the same group of friends every year, and I know what we're doing this year. Even my non-Packers fans friends. I got Niners fans friends and Bears fans friends, but I have a feeling that that will be the prime thing that the guys will be doing that night. So,
and potentially there's a chance that your friends that are fans of San Francisco, I can't say the name of the team very easily this time of year, and your friends of the team from Chicago, it's potential that our game against the Vikings could have implications for all those teams.
Absolutely. And then we round out the season in week 18 against the Bears, but that is yet to be determined when that will be. I guess it's going to come down to how big of a deal that game is and where it gets flexed. So stay tuned for week 18. But yeah,
it could be.
Oh, there you go.
It could be a Saturday game. It could be a Sunday game. It could be prime time. Just keep that weekend after New Year's Eve, the first weekend in January, keep it open. The Packers are going to play at some point. And that's finally the Bears coming to Lambeau Field.
Absolutely.
So we will take
one other key thing from this, that's the whole schedule, but one of the other things that kind of stood out to me when I was looking at this, Wayne, we don't have to play in California this year. I know that's a little bit of a bummer for you because it makes it more difficult for you to be able to see a game, but I don't know. Our history of playing in California these last few seasons has not been great. So it makes me happy that we're not traveling that distance and not dealing with that kind of heat. We can just play in good old Midwest and some other places too. But
not to mention the jet lag. So Scott, you make a valid point. But next year, if they do come to LA to play the Rams, I'll be there. And maybe we can turn the tide. Maybe it was just an Aaron Rodgers and the Packers thing.
There you go. And then next year, maybe I'll just invite myself out there and crash with you, and we'll go to the game together.
Come on down. So after going through the schedule, just a quick overview. There's a lot of exciting and potentially very important games. Were there, looking at the season as a whole, certain things that jump out at you?
I think I covered most of them. The Thursday day game on Thanksgiving, absolutely love that. Love the extra break for the Chiefs, extra day before going against the Giants. And not only is the New Year's Eve game on New Year's Eve, that's fun, but it's also a rival. So that's going to just make that night so much fun. My group always does some kind of theme on New Year's Eve. There's always some set of games, and it's all centered around a team of some kind of theme. So I have a feeling it could be football themed this year, which could be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll make everybody be Packers fans, and
that's a solid theme right there. Go Pack, go!
What about you, man?
For me, seeing that we don't have any long stretches of multiple home or away games could make for great pacing for this entire schedule, especially down the stretch, because I know there were a couple of times last year it was nice having 3 home games in a row, but I did not like the 3 road games in a row. So the most we get is 2 in a row on the road, 2 in a row at home. And unless any late season games get flexed in or out of Sunday night, the fact that the Packers are currently slated to have 5 primetime games, even without Aaron Rodgers, is proof positive that even the networks all know the fandom of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers is unmatched.
Hopefully that was not an error in foresight.
Oh, come on.
Dude, I am with you on the optimism right now, man. I am very much with the optimism, especially with some of the moves. I think we talked about this when we talked about the draft on our last episode. But the fact that their draft and the moves that they've been making have been making our team less focused around the quarterback. I understand the quarterback's going to touch the ball every single play, right? Unless they do a wildcat.
Right.
So they are looking at it to be a running team first. I don't think that we're looking for Jordan Love to be the star. I think we're looking for the team to be the star. And that's what this team has sorely needed, especially with all the drama that's been going on in Green Bay. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm optimistic. I can't wait to see what happens.
Coming soon, but I know first you've got a lot of things to get out of the way, including a camping trip right at the same time as opening weekend. Whereas, just so you'll know, for my opening weekend, I'm going to be in front of the TV from the time I roll out of bed, watching all the pregame shows, all the games, including the Packers, of course, but all the rest of the games. My wife knows the first Sunday of football season is overload.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the good things I have being married to a Packers fan wife.
Yes.
She loves to watch football all day long, every Sunday, every Thursday night game, every Monday night game. So we are a football household, but a Packers household first.
And you've got a few months to figure out how you're not going to miss watching the kickoff. Somehow.
If you could just go in the future and record it for me so I can watch it on my phone, in the middle of the woods.
I'll give it a shot. I'll figure out something.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff, Scott. I can't wait. Let's check in and see what the listeners of the Packers Fan Podcast had to say. First up, we got Garrett.
Hey, Wayne and Scott, this is Garrett. Just calling in to give my opinion about the 2023 schedule. And I know that there's a lot to be discussed when it comes to, do the Packers get screwed over a lot when it comes to the schedule and how it plays out. And I can't say that I'm a real fan of this schedule either. It's almost like they're just wanting to set Green Bay up for, a difficult road ahead. I hope this team just pushes even harder to prepare. I'm not a fan of Thursday night games. I never have been, and I never will. It just takes away opportunities for some of us who don't have the money to pay for all these different channels to watch these games, and having them on all these different channels just makes it impossible for some of us to watch our favorite team now. When it comes to difficulty of the schedule, I'm not really sure, how this is all going to play out. They say that it's the 24th most difficult schedule, but that will remain to be seen. Just hope and pray that these guys prepare hard this off season, and the coaches get them ready, because this is not going to be an easy one. I'm out.
Thank you, Garrett, for the voicemail. And before I respond to your words there, I promise you, sir, I am working on your shirt. I hit a technical difficulty when I went to put it together this week, and I've got to make a repair before I can actually make it for you. So it is coming. I promise. I've bought the shirt. I've bought the vinyl. It's all ready to go. I just have to make it. So I apologize it's taken so long. But for those that have no idea what I'm talking about, Garrett won our Wager O Fun in the last season. And no, was it? Yeah, it was that. It was not the fantasy football. He won the Wager of Fun, and I promised him a T-shirt, and I went to make it this week, and I hit a snag, but it's coming anyway. I'm surprised that Garrett is. He sounds very upset by this schedule. I was kind of taken aback at first because I was pretty happy with the schedule, but he makes a solid point about Thursday night games. I am not a fan of Thursday night games either, although the one is a Thursday afternoon. I am a fan of Thanksgiving football. But I get his point about not being able to watch the games. It's getting very frustrating that you can't just turn on network TV and watch these games anymore. You have to subscribe. I saw an article yesterday that said some of the playoff games this year are going to be exclusive to Peacock, which is, something else that people are going to have to subscribe to. I feel like the NFL should be all under one umbrella, but unfortunately, money talks, and they're going to milk us for all we can. 24th most difficult schedule. I want to know what the metric is for that. I want to know the math that they come up with for 24th most, how do you rank all these schedules by their difficulty?
That's a great question. I mean, just guesstimating, looking at it myself, I think it's somewhere around the middle of most difficult. It doesn't look super easy. It looks kind of difficult. You're right. What are they basing that on? But if the experts say it's the 24th most difficult.
Well, I mean, I look at it compared to last year and some of the opponents that we had. I was shaking a lot more about the opponents that we were coming against. The only one that really scares me is the Chiefs game. Not that I think we're just going to run the table for all the games or anything like that, but I feel like we have a really good shot on all of these games or most of these games. I think the Chiefs game is going to be a true test of where we are, but it's also going to depend on how the first half of the season goes. There's so many question marks around the Packers right now in terms of what they're going to do, especially because we're still months and months away from opening kickoff. So it's going to be a fun offseason just to see how the Packers grow, and I can't wait for week 1.
It's going to be fantastic. And Garrett, thank you so much for your call. Yeah, the fact that we have 2 road games in a row to start the season with a fresh young quarterback. Just hang in there, Jordan, no matter what happens those first 2 weeks.
Go, 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 Pack! The schedule has finally been released, so we can all start making our plans to watch or possibly even go to these games. There were a couple of games I was wanting to go to really bad, but because they decided to schedule it on national holidays, we have 3 of those. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas Eve, and we got New Year's Eve. I was planning on going to the Carolina game. I was really wanting to go to Detroit since that's pretty close to me, but I'm not giving up my family time. So let's get into it. One thing that really stood out to me is the 2 Lions games. They're both Thursday night football games. The first one on September 28th, so that's going to be a short week. And then on Thanksgiving, we're coming off the game from the Chargers, and that's an 11:30 a.m. game, so even a shorter amount of time to prepare. And what I don't like about that is not only being a short week, and I've made it quite known that I hate Thursday night football games, but we're doing it against the team that I think is the biggest threat to win the division. And then you're doing it in a way that you're lining up the Lions on Thanksgiving. The next one is the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And the next one is the Giants at the Giants on Monday Night Football. So you have 3 back-to-back-to-back prime time. You're the only team playing. This could be a big deal for our team. And for a young team, that could really affect their psyche depending on how those games, pan out. I think they're going to do great, but I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. This is a very young team. I think I read that only 3 players on the team currently are over the age of 30. So like I said, this is a very young team. And let's talk about the home opener. The past 11 seasons, there's been 9 away games and only 2 home games. So in 11 seasons, there's only been 2 home opening games. That's a bunch of bunk. The NFL scheduling committee needs to pull their collective heads out of their 5th point of contact. And I know we got 5 primetime games where other teams like Arizona don't even have 1 primetime game, but come on. In 11 years, only 2 home games to open up the season. This, give the fans what they want. They want a home opener, especially during a time when the weather's nice up there at Lambeau Field. I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. Nearly all the divisional games are primetime games or nationally televised game. The only one that's not currently is there's a noon start for the Minnesota Vikings when we host them, and the very last game against the Bears, which is going to be flexed one way or the other, depending on the two teams' records. One other neat little nugget of information is the Packers actually travel the second least out of all 32 teams. They will be traveling 11,956 miles, crossing 16 time zones, compared with the Seattle Seahawks, who will be almost tripling that with 31,600 miles and 36 time zones. I'm pretty sure that's because of the international game, but it's still something to think about because, traveling does take its toll on a person, whether you're a professional or just a regular person like us. I think that will actually play a significant part in the recovery of our players, going game to game. Now, one thing I will say is because of a lot of these prime time, especially the Thursday night games and the Monday night football games, it's going to give the team more time to prepare in between those games, even though they have the short week, but it's still going to give them more time to prepare for their next game, especially you're looking at the Lions at September 28th on Thursday Night Football, the Raiders on Monday Night Football, then the bye, and then the Broncos. So you're going to be looking at a month between home games because we play the Lions, like I said, on Thursday Night Football on September 28th, and we don't come back home to host another team until October 29th versus the Vikings. Like I said, this schedule is really interesting. It's very unique. We'll see what happens. I'll always believe and love our Packers, love our fans, love our players. Can't wait to get this season on the road. My prediction is that the Green Bay Packers will go 9-7 and get the wild card seed, and then take it all the way to the house to play the New York Jets, because we all know that the leak is true. New York Jets versus Green Bay Packers, with the Green Bay Packers, of course, winning it all. Go, 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 back,
go! Nice twist on everything there, Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow. Thank you so much for putting that together, sending that in. So much good stuff in there. Unfortunate that you can't make it to the holiday games, but like you said, family first. And Dan thinks the Lions are the favorites to win the division. Our division, Scott, our division.
Kind of with him, man.
Oh, boy.
Kind of with him. Yeah, it's time.
It's time. I don't know. I just don't know. But
I love how flabbergasted you get when I say anything that is not the Packers are going to win it all. They're going to go 17-0 or however, whatever it is.
However many games we get these days. It's hard to keep track. But the great stat that is frustrating about this schedule, and maybe this is part of why Garrett was a little frustrated as well, is over the last 11 seasons, the Packers have only had 2 home games to start the season. That's ridiculous.
This would have been the nice year to start with a home opener. Just saying. Jordan Love's first appearance, first start. Yeah, I think that should have happened, but I don't know. I'm not in charge, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, I'm with you. Why don't we ever get a home opener? Why does everybody else? Why is that lopsided?
These are things we need to find out. How about the fact that the Packers travel the second least amount of miles of all the teams?
I mean, we're smack dab in the middle. We're in the Midwest. So I feel like travel is clearly going to be, lower for us than East Coast and West Coast teams, or even all the way Southern teams. Like that's just kind of how it works.
Yeah, but I will take any little advantage that I can get.
Sure, I get you, but I just don't have. I can't imagine how much that's going to affect. Like, oh man, I feel like I'm 500 miles away, but I'm really 1,000 miles away. That's really throwing off my game.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, just
I guess how I'm looking at it is the less time that we're on the road or in the airport or on the plane is more time that we can be resting and prepping for the opponent.
okay, that's fair. I got you.
I'll just take any of that. And how about the fact that early on in the season, we have almost an entire month between home games? I mean, part of it's due to where the bye week is, but still.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's going to make that return, that homecoming, that much sweeter, right?
Well, true. Okay. But it's going to be a long month not seeing the beauty of Lambeau Field on our television sets or in front of our eyes if we happen to go to the game in person.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
I like that he predicts the Packers 9-7. That brings up a good point. What is your prediction for the record this year?
I'm supposed to predict this early on.
I know it's impossible. Like the point he made about nobody there was like 3 players over the age of 30.
Yeah,
this
wild.
is an incredibly young team. So there's no way to really come up with a prediction now. Even at the beginning of the season, I feel like that's just going to be so difficult. I'm for the first time in a long time, I'm going to be really interested in watching some preseason. Just
Thank
because
goodness.
I just have no idea what this team is doing. Granted, those first couple games are going to be starters, but I feel like they're going to want to give Jordan Love some time. I'm not in charge, but that feels like the right call to me.
Hand the ball off. Hand the ball off.
Too.
Hand the ball off. Throw it occasionally. Dan has a great prediction about the wild card seed and then going on to beat the Jets in the Super Bowl because that game has been leaked. So that's very important to keep in mind. Oh my, Scott. Now, of course, looking at the schedule, we do have the potential of winning every single one of the games because every game is very winnable. But if you want me to put numbers to it, let's say 14-3.
Wow. All right.
Wow. I'm giving you 3 losses. At this point, I may change my mind when the season comes around because I've got a wager o' fun to win for the 5th year in a row.
Yeah, that first week is going to be really interesting.
Yes, it will.
Do a wager of fun. Holy cow! Oh man, it's going to be an interesting year just all around with that wager of fun. But that week 1 especially,
give me some numbers.
It's going to be crazy. And you said what? 14-3. I was going to say I came in here thinking 10-7. So okay. I was actually a little bit more optimistic than Dan, but again, that is just a sheer shooting from the hip guess because I have no idea what this team is going to do. There's just no way to know.
I just think, Dan, 9-7, you're missing a game. So I bet he meant to say 10-7. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe that's what it was.
So we do have our poll that we had this past week in the Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on Twitter at Packers Fan Pod. Taking an early look at the 2023 Packers game schedule, which game do you think has the potential to be our most surprising victory? Packers at Bears Week 1, September 10th. Week 13, the Chiefs at Packers, which is December 3rd and a Sunday night. Or Week 17, the Packers at Vikings, New Year's Eve, Sunday night. Man, it is going to be cold in Minnesota on New Year's. Oh, wait, they play indoors. Okay, never mind.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
What do you think?
I'm actually going to go with one that's not on here, man. I know you had a nice little poll here, but I think the most surprising victory is going to be that Thursday night game against Detroit because it's going to be Thursday night, Jordan Love's first primetime appearance, if I remember correctly. Am I saying that correctly? He doesn't have a Sunday night game before that, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. It's going to be his first primetime game. First time where the entire country is watching him instead of just the Packers faithful and the, whoever the opponent faithful is.
The entire country that has Amazon Prime.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of people, man.
I know. I'm calling back to Garrett's comment about all these different streaming services.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, I'm gonna say that Thursday night game against the Lions. I think that's gonna be a surprising victory if they can pull that one off. Not only because Detroit's a serious contender this season, but again, primetime it's always been rough for us anyway, but with a brand new quarterback that will have never started under the bright lights, that's going to be a true sign of his charisma and longevity.
Okay, that's a solid pick, but mostly because I don't think the Lions are going to be all that great as they appear that they're going to be on paper. Just like every year, the Bears and Vikings aren't that. For me, though, I do think the most surprising victory for a variety of reasons will be Week 17, the Packers at Vikings, New Year's Eve, Sunday night, mostly because it's a division opponent. We don't know if Jordan Love is the type of quarterback that's going to thrive more indoors or outdoors. And the fact that his first season starting all the games, it's going to be a long season. And by week 17, hopefully not, but things can start to break down and get sore and just tiring. So I think if we can win that on New Year's Eve, that'll be a fresh way to start 2024 with bright eyes and happiness and smiles everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my pick. And the votes that came in, 7% said beating the Bears week 1 in Chicago would be the most surprising one of the whole year. 59% are going with if we could beat the Chiefs at Packers on December 3rd. And then 34% went the same direction as me, week 17 Packers at Vikings. And I wish you could have written in your vote about that Thursday night Lions game and explained it, because that could have got some votes as well.
Mm-hmm. We had some comments on the poll as well over at Packers Fan Podcast in our Facebook group. First off, Dan Dollar, who you heard earlier, said, surprising, that's an obvious choice. The Super Bowl champions who basically lost no key players this offseason. Most intriguing game, however, I have to go with at the Lions on Turkey Day. Everyone will be watching only one game at that time slot. It's a divisional rivalry, one which has heated up and has legs. I hate to say it, but they are my early pick to win the division. Sorry, Wayne. I don't like to disappoint you. He and I are kind of in the same line of thinking here. I think the Thursday night game is the scarier one for me. The reason I didn't go with the Chiefs is because I don't think we're going to win that game for the reasons that he said. They have not lost any key players this entire season. We have a lot of new players this season. So unless we can rebuild really quickly leading up to that game, I think. So I'm not going to say it's a surprising win, because I don't think we're going to win it. Sorry.
What if Patrick Mahomes' ankle acts up again?
Well, there you go.
So, hey,
we'll talk about it that week. How about that?
Table that discussion.
Yeah.
David Newman agrees with Dan. I think it's reasonable to think the Lions win the division. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay finishes third or unfortunately fourth in the division this year. Way too much uncertainty at quarterback.
Yeah, I hope he's wrong, but I'm looking at it with rose-colored glasses as well. Dictus in the Netherlands says, I ran into a couple of Packers fans today in Budapest. We're on a road trip through Eastern Europe right now, and we agreed that Jordan Love is going to surprise a lot of people, especially them from Detroit, the Bears, and those purple things with the bird-killing stadium. I'm honestly a little bit giddy with anticipation for the upcoming season. Go Pack Go from Hungary. Thanks, Dictus. Great to hear from you, man.
Making the rounds and the bird-killing stadium. Love it. There's also some other great conversations in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group talking about A.J. Dillon's new children's book, discussions about where to try buying Packers game tickets and the pros and cons of each app, and other good stuff as well.
As always, your calls, emails, comments, and support are so much a part of the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you, each and every one of you who do that. We love you all. Remember, you too can join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversation. Just head on over to packerscommunity.com as we go through minicamp, camp, and eventually preseason. Simply join, answer 3 questions, and then we'll more than likely let you in there.
Absolutely. We just need to make sure you're not Chat GPT-5 and just doing all kinds of havoc. We'll see. Just answer some questions. Plus, it's not hard questions. It's Packers related. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a quick shout out to my friend and listener, Hank Davis. He's been working on writing, filming, and starring in a short film. It's a passion project. It's almost done. In fact, Hank recently released the first trailer for his movie Underground Combat Club on his TPE Network YouTube channel. I'll be sure to link to the trailer in the episode notes. And a really cool side note for Scott and I is that in the trailer, you can see that one of the movie's characters has a Packers Fan Podcast sticker on the back of his laptop. How cool is that? The PFP is immortalized, and can't wait to watch the Underground Combat Club. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go indeed. That's really cool. That just feels pretty awesome, man. So Hank, thanks so much for doing that. I appreciate it. Also, want to give everybody a heads up that my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider, releases its latest episode tomorrow as of this recording. It was a big week in my world as Tears of the Kingdom, the latest game in the Legend of Zelda franchise, released on the Nintendo Switch. If you know me at all, you know I am a massive Legend of Zelda fan. I have a wall filled from floor to ceiling with collectibles for The Legend of Zelda. Massive nerd when it comes to that. So this is a big week for me. We talk about that game at length on this podcast. So if you're a fan at all, you will want to check that out. Our website is thegamingoutsider.com, and I would love it if you gave us a listen and maybe a review over on Apple Podcasts. We had a negative Nelly this past week that dropped us a 1-star review because they didn't like our opinions.
Oh my!
So trying to rebuild that up. So if you do me a favor, head over there and give us a good review, and we'll read it on the show as well too. It would really help me out. So thanks in advance.
Was it a fun 1-star review? You could use it as some sort of promotional material. And the reason I ask is back when I and Sir Troy were podcasting about the TV show Revenge, we got a 1-star review. And we just talked about it at length when we went to one of the podcast conferences. We told everybody about it. And whenever somebody asks if anybody's ever got a 1-star review, we gladly share that somebody left a comment saying, "Dude, why are 2 guys talking about a TV show that's obviously for women?"
That was all the review said?
That was the entire thing. And I don't know where they got the idea that Revenge was only a show for women. I mean, whatever. But
yeah,
hey, it was funny as heck. It wasn't really a review. It's just somebody. People are funny. Let's just leave it at that. People are funny. All right. Packers Fan Podcast has some MVPs as well, participating in the value for value model. Thank you for giving back to your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. We really appreciate it. Details for becoming a patron, and you don't have to wear a suit and tie or a tuxedo, but I guess there's nothing wrong with that. The details are at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. And Dan Dyler, supporting at the Jim Ringo level, definitely gets some Go Pack Goes and some thank yous. And Jay Walters, thank you as always, and Go Pack Go for your very classy Aaron Rodgers level patronage, as well as your interview you did with the Jets fan on the last episode. That was fantastic as well. And you make a solid point. You sent me a message saying, hey, if we have an Aaron Rodgers level and we have a Brett Favre level, we should probably have a Bart Starr level because he's legendary. You're right. I'm going to get that taken care of.
Also, Go Pack Go, and thank you to our loyal Brett Favre level supporters, Scott Boers, Andre in LA, Colum Nolan from Ireland, and Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Track podcast. Also, Curly Lambeau level Go Pack Goes, and thank yous to Matt Haig, Hank Davis from the TPE Network, and Joe Christensen. As Wayne said, if you'd also like to give back to the show, maybe even become a patron of the old PFP, check out the details at packersfanpodcast.com/give back.
Did you say packersfanpodcast.com/give back?
I did indeed.
Okay. I just want to make sure it was packersfanpodcast.com/give back. And with that, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers as of yet. But please, 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 please follow the Packers Fan Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember to tell your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast. And in advance, I'm going to say thank you.
You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @PackersFanPod. My personal one is @GoCastScott. Wayne's is @Wayne Henderson. And as we head out until around preseason, we've got patron supporter Pack Sparrow, a.k.a. Dan Dyler, setting sail into minicamp.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, and Brett, coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go. Go, 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 Pack, go!